Hello and welcome, dear crypto friends, to this latest video, and today we are going to talk about the famous Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Will we have another 4-year cycle with all-time highs by the end of the year, or will something new happen? Before we start, as always, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm just a weird guy talking on YouTube about coins, so please don't take anything I say too seriously and always buy or do stuff based on your own research and never based on what I say, okay? Now that this is out of the way, let's get started. Let's, as always, first start by taking a look at our good old Bitcoin long-term chart. We see the long-term chart since 2010 is following a curved trend channel in the logarithmic chart. We have the y-axis always logarithmic, and we can see now that Bitcoin is hovering around the lower $40,000 price levels. So what will happen? Well, if we look at the daily chart, we already established in our very first video on this channel that we will most likely see a drop to the $37,000 level. I brought out the video when it was at 48,000, and I said that based on this bearish divergence here, like we have higher highs in the price, so the price is rising, but at the same time the relative strength index is making lower highs, so this is called a bearish divergence. I said that based on that, we will likely revisit the $37,000 level, which indeed seems to be happening now. Of course, in a more extreme scenario, we could even revisit, if the $37,000 level doesn't hold, we could revisit 30,000 or 28,000. This is also possible. In a more extreme case, we could even go down as low as 17,000, which I talked about in our second video. Oh, and I would be, of course, super happy if you would subscribe to this new channel, because this would really motivate me to keep pumping out videos about everything related to crypto. Thank you very much. Now, why was it clear that this would happen? Not only because of the relative strength index, but because Bitcoin is again doing a wick-off distribution pattern. If we look at the first pattern, which was from January until May, we saw that Bitcoin did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 peaks, right? And now we saw that, Bitcoin is doing an extremely similar pattern. Look at this here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now it's breaking down and probably will revisit this previous level here. So it is very likely that we will revisit at least 37,000. Then what will happen afterwards? Well, this will depend on how strongly the dollar will pump in the next weeks. We said that Bitcoin and the dollar are inversely correlated. So when the dollar is pumping, Bitcoin is going down and vice versa. So now this means that in an extreme case, when the dollar will pump like crazy, Bitcoin could go down as low as 17,000 in the most extreme case, because this is where this support line here, this is the weekly moving average of the last 200 weeks, will be. And we saw that historically the moving average 200 is always an extremely good support level. It touched that level in 2015, it touched it again in 2018, it touched it in 2020, so it might touch it again. But this is an extreme case, so it could drop down as low as 17,000, rebound, and then we will get a rally towards the end of mid or end of 2022 at around $200,000, depending of course on the timing. The later we have the peak, the higher the price will go, right? Because the trend channel is ascending. The earlier the peak, the lower the price. But of course, now it could also be that nothing of the sort will happen and that we will now stay here and suddenly we'll go up. And we will have our usual 4-year cycle, because Bitcoin will reach the all-time high by the end of this year. I am going to argue now that it is more likely that the cycles are lengthening. So then let's look at our dollar index. What is the dollar doing? Well, the dollar is doing a very interesting structure, and this is a widening structure known as a megaphone structure. So it's bouncing around here, and this megaphone structure, in my opinion, will likely break to the upside. Not only because the Fed announced tapering, that they will start tapering soon, but no, also because we had a very strong bullish divergence in the dollar. So while the price is going down and making lower lows or staying flat, we can see that actually the RSI is going up, so it's making higher lows. Look here, you know, it's making higher lows, whereas the price is making lower lows or lows that stay flat. So this means we have a bullish divergence, okay? Now I think that the dollar index will break out here of this structure, go up to 97. 97 will prove a very strong resistance level, or 98, because we saw it got rejected here on the first drop. So basically I think it will be rejected at 98 and then we will be going down. Why do I think we'll be going down? Well, because in the monthly chart, the dollar looks actually extremely bearish, okay? It is actually really bearish, as I will argue. First of all, we can see a very nice wick of distribution pattern, the same as we had before in the Bitcoin chart. It's making 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks, and the fifth one is coming. So what does that mean? That means that we are going up now until we said 98, and then woo, we are going down. And also, it's not only the wick of distribution pattern that the dollar is doing on the long-term monthly chart, but it's also that there's a very strong monthly bearish divergence in the dollar. So while the peaks are kind of ascending, so 1, 2, 3, the peak is every time a bit higher, but here we can see that the peak in the RSI is every time lower. And here this peak, the 4 peak, is almost as high as the 3 peak. However, we see that the RSI here is a lot lower than in the case of the peak 3. That is fascinating, and this is a very strong bearish divergence. Okay, so we have a bullish divergence of the dollar in the weekly chart. This means that short term the dollar will be pumping to around 97 or 98, and then it will fall down, break down, as we saw in this long-term monthly wick of distribution pattern with a strong bearish divergence. So at some point in the next months, the dollar will be breaking down, and that basically means that we have the perfect setup for a strong Bitcoin rally in 2022. However, until then, Bitcoin could see lower prices. We could go down as low as 37,000, and in the most extreme case, and please remember this is a very extreme case, we could go down as low as 17,000, which will be the perfect entry point to rebuy into this market and be perfectly set up for the next peak, the next rally, which will happen by late 2022 or early 2023, depending on the timing, okay? So don't be surprised if the Bitcoin 4-year cycle doesn't hold this time, because the dollar is doing other stuff and Bitcoin is strongly anti-correlated to the dollar. So we might see something happening that no one is expecting, except of course for you dear viewers who watch this channel, because I'm so friendly and I'm warning you that this might happen so that you are not surprised. The next time I will tell you about strategies, what you can do if Bitcoin crashes down now and drags the whole market with it. What should you do? Should you buy Bitcoin? Should you buy altcoins? Which altcoins? How exactly? I will tell you everything in the next video. So I would say thank you very much for watching this video. All the best from me and see you next time.